Committee. And we have several motions for today, Tuesday, February 16th, and I'm joined by Honorable Councilmember Jose Aguilar. Are we expecting Councilmember Krikorian?
I believe he's in Education Committee, Council.
Okay. Then we'll move forward and we'll anticipate his presence. But there are several items we can move on, consent, and some of them need to be continued. And we'll go through that part of the agenda first. So those of you that are here, you won't have to wait any longer. On one, we can move to adopt. On two, say no cards on that one. On two, there are no cards on number two, so I will move that we concur with the Transportation Committee and request the City Attorney prepare a report on the effects of the Lone Star decision and prepare a draft ordinance to ban mobile billboards in collaboration with the Transportation Department, Planning Department, Building and Safety, and any other relevant departments. Are you okay with that, Councilman Wieser? Okay. On three, we will request the City Attorney to prepare the ordinance. Well, but I'll just go through this. That way, we don't go through each one on the record. That's right.
Perfect.
Okay. On four, we'll request the City Attorney prepare the ordinance. On five, seeing no cards, we'll concur with the Department of Building and Safety and approve a claim for a refund of permit fees and surcharge the amount of $47,166.59. Urban Bakery LLC, as much as Department of Building and Safety did not perform any actual inspection and no construction has started. On 6 through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, we can move on consent. On 13, we can move on consent with the granting the hardship exemption request. Wait, I got ahead of myself here. Number 7, nope, we're okay with 7. Item 10, we're gonna call special number 10. I'm sorry, we'll have to go back on that. Shoot, there's quite a few. Okay. 11, we're okay on 11. So far, only number 7 is called special. So we'll continue through the agenda here.
So 13's on consent?
Consent, yes. 14 will continue. And do we have a date for number 14 yet, Madam Clerk?
Yes, applicant requests 45 days. Continuance.
Okay. So we'll continue that to 45 days. On item 15, we'll continue in Plum March 2nd, in Council April 6th. On 16, we'll continue in Plum March 2nd. On 17, we'll continue in Plum to March 23rd. On 18, we'll have special. We have our director here today. Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. On 19, we'll concur with the city attorney recommendations. So all the items I've been through were no cards. We did have a couple of cards. If it was on consent, the deputies chose not to speak. If it was on consent. And so that takes us back to item number 7, I believe. No, that one we're okay. 10, we called special. We have 2 cards. So can we go to 10, Roberto?
Yes, council members. 10 is a Cultural Heritage Commission report. It's to include the Lancashire Reading Room as a historic cultural monument on CD7.
Okay, I don't mean to cut you off. Let me ask Director Goldberg for her item first, and then we'll go to 10.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reyes. Let me start by thanking you for waiving our special fund ordinance out of Plum. It will be heard soon by City Council. This is very important to us to take the fee ordinance that you adopted several months ago and make certain that the funds are in a protected special fund in order to hopefully, as we move into the future, protect more of the planning department positions that are funded by these new fees. In an attempt to share with you all of the joy of being planning director, I want to share with you that 2 of our employees started new jobs today as part of the transfer effort that has been going on over the past 2 weeks to, as you know, eliminate as many general fund positions as we can. So 2 of our employees actually started new jobs today. I know of at least 2 others that are still having discussions. I haven't received official notification, but certainly it's my hope that at least several of them will secure revenue producing positions in other departments. Last Friday was the last day for 10 additional planning department employees as part of the ERIP. We lost 7 in January, 10 in February, and we expect to lose another 21 in March and April. This is particularly a problem for us in certain areas. It is the city's standard to have 1 commission executive assistant for every commission that the city has. You may know that the planning department staffs 9 commissions. We are now down to 2 CEAs, which basically is impossible. And so we are training other people, other classifications to do those jobs. As of this moment, the planning department has about 25 fewer people than the day I arrived 4 years ago, when we had no planning policy program, no community plans, and we have literally 25 fewer people today than 4 years ago. And that is without considering that 80% of our people are on furlough, and that's a further reduction in our capacity. But we are working diligently in the planning department. We have several staff members that have been reassigned to help us with a total reorganization of the department because we have lost full classifications of people. We are having to reorganize and create a new management structure, and we are working on that and hope to put it in place within the next couple of months. We are also working with environmental affairs to work out a program for them to move part of their function at your direction. They will be moving into the planning department within the next couple of weeks. I think it's important to note that they will bring with them a full work program, so it is not expected that they will actually be able to relieve or help us with hours. In fact, we will be providing support for them. So just to let you know sort of where we are, and we know that you guys are working diligently to find solutions, and we appreciate those efforts, but I wanted to let you know the impact that the planning department is suffering right now.
Ms. Goldberg, and your observations are not being taken lightly, obviously. Today's actions in council is requesting that each chairperson of every department speak to the issue of how the departments can move forward and where are the revenue generating functions, both the short term and the long term. And so I'm looking forward to meeting Mr. Bueller to see how he sees the economic development strategy or what their perspectives are in relation to how these functions are going to evolve. But first you have to identify where they're at, who they are, and how does that impact the city. And that's something that we need to get to, especially with the next city budget just around the corner. And so there's a lot that has to be resolved today. A lot of the hard decisions have to be made currently with the existing budget, but we need to start getting ready. And so I'm looking forward to working with you. I just can't imagine the level of consternation and anxiety that exists amongst throughout the city, but also in the planning department, seeing such a significant cut in very major discretionary areas, especially when we perform semi-judicious roles in our casework and seeing what's happening to the future of the city without community plans. So those are I think, two of the areas that are a big concern of mine, and hopefully in the future we'll have a discussion like that moving forward. So
We look forward to that.
I appreciate all your hard work. And Councilman Broussard, any comments?
You mentioned, Ms. Goldberg, that 2 people have moved on. What services will be cut, or what functions were they handling?
One was a GIS specialist, and the other was a management assistant. Planners, because there are so few of them elsewhere in the city, are not finding as many opportunities. And so it's more the administrative functions that are able to go across the department boundaries. So those are the areas that we will probably, at least with the potential of eliminating 20 general fund positions in the planning department, which is our portion of the 1,000 general fund positions that need to be eliminated. The 20 to be eliminated in the planning department are 15 of the functions are administrative, are either GIS, cartographers, demographers, only 5 planners, because we have disproportionately lost planners through the early retirement, through the loss of positions and the loss of vacancies. We had disproportionately lost planners. So the reduction of the additional 20 people gave us a little bit of an opportunity to try to rebalance a little bit, but there were still 5 planners on that list.
Is it possible to get a matrix from you on certain indicators that would tell us, where we are in terms of service delivery? For example, if someone comes asks for a CUP, how long does that take? Or they come ask for some other entitlement, how long does that currently take? Or HBOZ, if an area wants to become an HBOZ, how long will that take?
Right.
It's helped me with Public Works, for example, where they tell me it takes 10 years for a cycle to trim a tree, right? And so they tell us, we tell them we're going to cut 5 of your positions, and they come back and say, wow, now it's going to take 12 years.
Right.
So it gives us a good sense of, okay, we focus not so much on the positions that are being proposed to being cut, but we focus on the service delivery. So if you do that, this is now how long it's going to take, and it does help put things in perspective.
Right. We're having a bit of a dilemma right now because we are having to reorganize the department, and we are putting into place a different process and efficiencies. We actually have a consultant on board this minute that is helping us create best practice timelines for every different kind of case that we have, and for us to establish goals on what percentage of the time we will meet that best practice time frame. So I can provide you with sort of what we're doing now, which is not great. I can provide you with what our new best practice timelines and goals will be, but the problem is that I still don't know who and how many people we're going to lose. So, but I can give you some information that can be helpful. It appears to me that what we will be reduced to is basic case processing, and there will be little capacity beyond basic case processing to do policy, to do community plans. You know, of course, that we are so close with a number of the community plans that we will probably try very hard to continue using our interns and others to move those forward, even if it's one at a time, so that we don't lose the investment that we've made in those community plans. But it's going to be extremely difficult because, as I said, when I arrived, we were a case processing function and we were way behind. And now we are going to end up, by the end of this year, I expect that we will be at least 60 people less than when I started. Now, of course, the cases are down, so they're not, but we weren't caught up with them at that time either. So it's going to be tough, but we are looking for every efficiency, and we're spending a lot of time trying to find efficiencies so that we can do the casework, expeditiously, and hopefully even be able to recapture some of that capacity to use for policy planning. But it's going to be a tough year, a very tough year for everybody.
Thank you.
Again, I plan to use this role as chair of this committee to get into those kinds of details, so we can start understanding what's happening to our personnel, what's happening to our service delivery, our functions, and get to a place where we understand what our priorities are, and given these changes, what is going to actually occur. So
Right.
we'll be ready for that.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I moved really fast through the agenda on the consent and the various other items with the impression that the deputies were fine in the different council offices if it was on consent, so that's why I moved so quickly through it. But now I understand that items 7 and 10 wants to be called special. Madam Clerk?
The council office would like to speak on item number 7, and item number 10, I believe there's public comment, just general public comment.
You want to speak on number 7?
Yes.
And these recommended changes? Just real quick, come on up.
Thank you, council members. My name is Daniel Skolnick, Planning Deputy for Councilmember Tony Cardenas of the 6th District. The council member has asked me to recommend 2 conditions. One, a condition prohibiting residential use, and a second condition requiring a council review of the landscape. Thank you.
So are these conditions already on record?
Pardon me?
Are these conditions new conditions, or are they on record?
No, they are new conditions.
Can you just give us a brief on the, Daniel?
Yes. So on the case?
Yes. Chairman Reyes, members, I'm Daniel Scott, City Planning Department. This before you is the action of the North Valley Area Planning Commission approving a zone change from R1 to TQCM for the construction of a 12,000 square foot industrial building on Penrose, and both conditions proposed by the council office are acceptable to staff.
Okay, and the conditions that were just mentioned by the deputy
Yes, that's correct.
could be added, folded in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with the recommended changes, we can move this forward?
Thank you.
Okay. So that takes care of number 7. Thank you, Mr. Skolnick. Now, number 10, one more time, Roberto?
Sure, council members. 10 is a cultural heritage commission report to include the Lancashire Reading Room as a historic cultural monument in CD7.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Ken Bernstein with the Office of Historic Resources. This is a Cultural Heritage Commission report recommending historic cultural monument status for the Lancashire Reading Room, which was constructed in 1904. This is the last remaining building from the Lancashire Ranch, which was a 48,000-acre ranch originally owned by Isaac Lancashire, a prominent figure in the early San Fernando Valley. The Commission recommended designation for the Reading Rooms Association with the development of the San Fernando Valley and members of the Lancashire family.
Okay. We have 2 cards on this item. I'd like to call up Ms. Giselle. I'd like to give us your name and address, please. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi. My name's Mitch Giesel. I'm a past president of the San Fernando Valley Historical Society. I'm also the docent program chairman for all the school tours. We have hundreds of school children come through on field trips, all free, to the Andres Pico Adobe. On those grounds is where this Lancashire reading room is, and it's really my privilege now to show that building. Like the gentleman just said, it has so much the Lancashire family history in that building. We have artifacts, we have paperwork, we have books. I just feel it's something that should be on the cultural landmark and for many generations to come.
Well, fantastic, and thank you for making the trip out to City Hall and all your good work for the city. Thank you very much. We also have with us Tisa Besica.
Very good.
You know, and I love this because you put it rhymes with.
Right.
Imagine if everyone did that. We would be pronouncing our names correctly, so thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Tisa Besica. You wanted my address?
Please.
I'll give the address of the Adobe. It's 10940 Sepulveda Boulevard, Mission Hills, California, 93642, I believe. As you know from LA history, the city, Isaac Lankershim, along with Isaac Van Nuys, bought half of the valley from Andres Pico. They ran cattle, they ran sheep, and they grew wheat. In fact, they were the largest wheat exporters in the whole United States until a California drought came along. They decided then to subdivide the property. Van Nuys developed Van Nuys, well, among other areas, but Lankershim founded a city of Lankershim, which is now called North Hollywood. They thought they could get more movie industry people to move there and make more money if they renamed the city. The Lankershims died out after building a U-shaped house with a reading room in the front. After them, a family named Tremblay bought it. They moved half the house and the reading room part to a residence that the land they owned in Canoga Park on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. After 7 years, Tremblay was relocated, and he was friends with Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers convinced him to sell the property to the church to which he belonged, and then it became Church in the Canyons, Chapel in the Canyons. They owned it for the longest amount of time, but then they sold it for development. And the president of the San Fernando Valley Historical Society at the time was driving by, and he noticed that the house had been raised, and a bulldozer was heading towards the Lankershim Reading Room. So it's one of those cases where he pulls his car over, he jumps in front of the bulldozer and yells, "Stop! Do you know what this building is?" "No." So he proceeded to tell them. Well, he was very persuasive, and is that 2 minutes already?
Go ahead, please. You can
Okay.
finish.
The city allowed us to move it on our property. Now, in the 1990s is when we got the building, and just this year we finished the $70,000 restoration with monies from that the society raised. So at this point, what we're asking is that the city continue to support this building. You saved it one time, and we would like to see it a cultural historical land monument so it can be saved for posterity. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Besica, and thank you for that review. It's important to know our history. That's what gives us our identity, so thank you very much. And that was on consent, so that's going to move forward. So we are listening, and you're all getting the support that you're seeking. So let's move to council on the consent calendar. Roberto, is there anything else that we need to cover?
On this item, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank the two speakers for keeping our history alive. We need more people like you throughout the city to protect and honor and share our history that we have in this great city. And we have several items on the agenda today that is designating some buildings as historical monuments, and we do all we can to continue that, but what really helps is when people like you actually bring it to life for us. So when things like the bulldozer and stop, and it's those stories that still need to be told as well, not only the building structures themselves. So thank you for coming out and spending some time with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that covers, anything else? Okay, are they here? No, they're not here. But I do want to thank the students from Kennedy High School. I know they were doing great work.
Yes, I did. I omitted, should have mentioned that these nominations, the one you just heard, the Onion Church and the Corbin Palms Home, all of which are on your agenda today, these nominations were submitted to the Cultural Heritage Commission by the Kennedy High School Architecture Magnet and a group of 20 students. And I know, Mr. Chair, you're a strong supporter of the involvement of students in the planning process. 20 students did the research, prepared these nominations, presented PowerPoints at the Cultural Heritage Commission, and did a more professional job than most of the professional consultant applicants that we have before the Cultural Heritage Commission. Unfortunately, their teacher indicated to me they could not be here today coming off a 3-day weekend. It was
Right.
difficult for them to get down today, but they wanted us to convey to you, their enthusiasm about these nominations and the
Are
process.
they all scheduled on the same day for council?
I believe they are.
Well, maybe we can have a chat with the professor, the teacher there,
I'd
and
love to bring the students into council on another day.
when we
if that's
recognize
not
them, we'll
possible.
do a nice certificate for them, and maybe they can help us set the standard for how to do this job.
Exactly.
No, just kidding. But I do want to thank you, and yes, we should invite them, and that would be great. Again, maybe I should have gone a little slower on going through the agenda, but usually when I get the green light, I like to move fast. So that being said, public comments?
Yes, Council.
Public comment, anyone? Anyone have public comment? Thank you very much. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. All right.